Hey guys, welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, True Story, and we're about to get into it with Sammy Lea Davidson. Let's get it.
Break it down like this.
Get a grip, you fucking moron. I swear, officer, I'm not that stoned. Greatest podcast in the world, True Story.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, True Story, and I am joined by one of my favorite people in the entire world. I know that I say that about every guest that I have on, but this time I actually mean it. The beautiful, the one and only Sammy Lea Davidson. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, I'm excited to have you on. This is a first for the podcast, as we were talking before, and I'm really interested to hear your story and hear a little bit about you. But look, start things off. Like, where did you grow up? Like, where are you based from?
So I actually grew up in England. I've got Scottish background, and we moved over in 2000. So I lived down in New South Wales and in Sydney for quite a while, and I've just relocated to the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. So
Nice.
Not coping with the humidity tonight. I'm like
So you moved
very, very hot.
So you moved from the UK to Australia in 2000.
Yeah, so I was 10. So I moved over with my parents.
I was gonna say, yeah, like there's no accent there at all.
No, sometimes I'll say something. There's like particular words. Like everyone laughs at me when I say yogurt because everyone has a giggle because it should be yogurt apparently, but I say yogurt. And the vacuuming is hoovering, but it's otherwise the accent has gone, but the words remain.
Yeah, right. There's still that English thing. It's like when they say
Yeah,
was it half three or something? Or like they say
yeah,
it was a weird way to pronounce it. So
yeah. And my parents are Scottish too, so we had a lot of like Scottish slang in my household. So I'll just come out with things, and people just look at me a little bit strangely, like, what are you saying? What are you talking about?" But
no,
yeah, otherwise I'm pretty much Australian as far as my accent goes. And I've now been here longer than I was in the UK anyway. So
hey, 100%. But it's crazy though, the Scottish side of things. Like, do you ever enjoy haggis and stuff like that?
yeah, so we do my family and I do a Burns night in January, which is when you traditionally have a haggis and we read from the Burns book. And my grandfather used to be very big in Scottish heritage and history. And yeah, so a New Year's Eve, it's Hogmanay, it's not New Year's Eve. So things like that are kind of like still instilled in me, even though I've been here for so long. I guess it's like what you grow up with, right? So
100%, 100%. Like you seem like very family orientated as well. Like what do they take on like what you do for a living? Like I assume they know.
yeah, like I think the one thing I always say to new creators that approach me is you've got to be comfortable about what you're going to do. You've got to be comfortable about putting your face out there if that's what you're going to do, and the potential that people will find out what you're doing. Leading a double life is not mentally healthy for anybody. So
Of
if
course.
you can be honest with yourself and with your family, it's going to make everything so much easier for you. So my dad being Scottish is quite frugal, and money is a big thing, and they can be known to be quite stingy. So I just sent him a copy of my bank balance one day and said, "This is what I've been doing," and he's like been so supportive ever since. And yeah, just like I'm an adult, I can
Yeah.
do what I want as long as I'm safe, as long as I'm making good money from it, then yeah, he's fine with it. So
What was it like? What was it about like the industry that drew you to it? Like what was it that sort of attracted you to that scene?
So it actually all started from being bored as all hell during COVID.
Yeah.
And my friend actually said to me, "Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever thought about doing it? Like all these girls are making so much money on OnlyFans. Why can't we?" And we both started it thinking it would just be like a little bit of fun. And she ended up stopping, and mine has just continued. And within 6 months, I was filming with some of the top creators in Australia, and it's just kind of gone a little bit crazy since then. So, but
Real.
it's I've never felt so sexy. I've never felt so in tune with myself and my body, and I've learned how to build a business. OnlyFans is a lot of work. It's not just taking a few photos and posting
Sure.
them online. You know, a lot of people are like, she just takes a photo of a vagina and chucks it on the internet. But it's so much more than that. You're building relationships with people, you're trying to keep customers, it's like customer retention and all that kind of stuff comes into it. So that was really interesting. I've learned a lot about that side of things as well. I've learned a lot about myself and my independence. I was doing it all by myself, so I didn't have anyone to bounce any ideas off, or how do I use the platform, or what's the best way to go about things. So I've kind of learned everything through trial and error, and being committed to it. You know, you can't do well on this platform unless you're committed to it. So yeah.
I feel like during that COVID period, though, like the OnlyFans business model really bloomed because so many girls were just sort of like jumping on it because it's like there was no way to make money. And then it's just like, hey, let me
Exactly.
sell some photos of my feet. And, you know what I mean? Like, and then like, I don't know, like maybe this whole weird, the world fetish thing sort of like started to boom during COVID because like everyone got like, wasn't mentally stimulated.
Bored.
You know what I mean? But it's
Some
crazy
weird
that
ass
like,
fetishes came out, I think, during COVID.
it's wild to see because it's like so many people would look at it like the OnlyFans system is like, why would you invest so much money to one person when there's so much adult content out there
Yeah.
at like everyone's disposal, like so easily.
Yeah, for free as well.
Yeah,
You know,
like
you
it's
don't need to pay for content. Um, but I think a lot of it is about that relationship building and the fact that they can talk to you. Like you can log on to Pornhub and you can watch whatever you want, but you can't have a relationship with that person. You can't have a connection with that person. You're just watching them on a screen.
sure,
Whereas on OnlyFans, like I can sit and talk to you and I can record something for you in real time. I can create exactly what you want when you want it. I can write your name all over me. I can, you know, there's some very strange personal requests that have come through, but it's a personalized approach to porn, if that
sure.
makes sense.
Like what has been the most wildest suggestion that someone or request that you've had?
Probably the weirdest was I had a guy recently send me a whole bunch of videos, and it was girls snorting cooked spaghetti up their nose and then pulling it out of their mouth.
What
And
the fuck?
yeah, he was sending me demonstration videos because he wanted to pay me to record myself doing it. And
Damn.
it was so weird because I was convinced that I was gonna like choke myself or something
For
doing
real.
it.
For real.
But yeah, that's probably one of the weirdest. But like people have all sorts of fetishes out there. You get asked to do some weird stuff all the time, but you've got to have your boundaries, you know, set so that
Yeah, for real.
if someone comes along and goes, I'll throw all this money at you if you film this, and you're like, well, that's going to be on the internet forever. I'm not comfortable with that. The money sounds great, but I don't want that on camera, you know?
For sure. For real, yeah.
So it's important to set those boundaries for yourself as well and go, this is my hard no. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do this, whatever they throw at me, because that's on the internet forever. So
Yeah, 100%. I feel like in that game, you gotta like you have to have certain level of boundaries and respect for what you are prepared to do and what you're prepared to have out there of yourself on the internet, because it's some of this stuff is wild. Like, man, if you can think up the weird fetish, like you can guarantee someone's like what I mean, sweating them while they're going at themselves somewhere thinking about it, and it's a crazy fucking world, man.
it's insane. I mean, OnlyFans have really cracked down in recent years on the level of content, I suppose you would call it, that you can post. So, you can't do pissing content on there anymore, and you can't do vomit content and you like things like that. So they've really cracked down on things on those lines. They've also cracked down on outdoor filming. So if you're filming somewhere that they think, it could be in a park near a school, or if they can see that you're in the backyard and it's fenced and it's in a private area, then it's okay.
Yeah.
But if you could be out in public where you're essentially coming into contact with the general public, then you can't post that on OnlyFans anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've really cracked down recently with what you can and can't post.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, it makes sense. Like, they don't want to find themselves in some sort of legal trouble either, because it's like, if they get X amount of complaints or like legal assaults or legal things to them, it's going to affect their business long term. So I
Yeah.
completely get it, you know. But like, for you getting into this industry, did you find it like when you're starting out, like, and starting to, be with people on camera and go through that? Like, was that an easy transition for you to go? Like, were you like a pretty wild and exhibitionist type of person prior to your time starting in the adult industry?
No. Another thing I always kind of say to new creators is stick to what you know, and don't try and be somebody that you're not, because it will come across on camera. So don't make out that you're into BDSM and hardcore porn if you're like a bit vanilla in the bedroom, because it just won't work. So my brand has always been very girl next door. I like to have fun. I like to try new things, but I'm not into BDSM or hardcore porn or anything too wild, or you'd never get me filming vomit content, for
Yeah,
example.
that's
Like
that's
it's not. It doesn't align with the brand. It's just smart business as well, like
Well, I feel like
just
that level of extreme, like, will get you over in a certain niche of that market, right? Like, of that industry, where there is probably a bunch of like dark sick fucks that sit in this like dark corner of the world and that
yeah.
enjoy that shit. But like, if you wanted to break into more of like a mainstream porn industry and the brand companies and stuff like that, that sort of stuff would obviously be a hindrance, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have a little bit of, I guess you do have that leeway in that, they want to try and get you to do different things. But I think for me, while I'm working for my own business and I'm doing my own OnlyFans, I think it's very important to maintain the brand image.
Of course.
I am that girl next door. My slogan is Queen of Hearts. So for me to go out and shoot like a mass orgy where everyone's throwing up and pissing on each other,
Yeah.
it doesn't fit with the brand. I feel like people wouldn't be able to look at me the same way.
But also, I feel like that's kind of gross as well. Like, I don't really feel like there's anyone that would really be enjoying doing that sort of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there'd
I
be
know.
girls and guys out there doing it, but like, are they doing that just for the pay? Because like, I don't really feel like there's many people would be sitting there going, you know what, this is some shit that's going to get me off.
I know. It's very niche, and the chances of you like making a bank on it over and over are probably quite slim. But I'll stick to what I know, I think.
Hey, God bless to that. Like, that's what you can do. Like, it's crazy though. Like, but like, doing the OnlyFans thing as well, do you feel like that really um gives you more control and power over like who you film with, who you shoot with, like who you're working with, and what you're putting out there, obviously, is what you said earlier, but does it give you that extra power and comfort as well?
Yeah, you're in control. You can do whatever you want to do. Again, it's your business, so you're completely in control. And there are people that have made themselves successful just filming on their own, or just filming with their partner, or just filming with other creators. So there's ways to do it without making yourself uncomfortable, or doing things that you're not happy to do. So I've always been very selective with who I have filmed with. I only film with other creators, and creators that are sort of within my circle, I suppose. More recently, I've now got myself a man, so he's also in OnlyFans as well. So we've sort of moved to only filming with each other for now. for the getting around your headspace around things as well, it's a lot to get your head around. So that's what we're doing at the moment. But when we decide that we're ready to do something else, then we have the power to do that, and we can choose who we are happy to do that with. And, so it does give you that level of control, which is really nice too.
Yeah. I mean, like, do you feel like if there was like a mainstream company that did come to you and said, hey, we would like to sign you for X amount of films and stuff like that, would that be something that would even like remotely interest you? Or would it also depend on, your relationship outside of the industry as well, whether, your partner's involved, whether it's not, and also what the scenes are that you're being offered to contract to film too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's so many things to take into consideration, and it would definitely be a conversation that we would need to have,
Yeah.
because obviously that is a huge opportunity. Um, but it would come down to what we're happy with, and
Mm.
we value our relationship at the top. Like that is highest priority. So if one of us isn't happy with something, then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So we just have to be smart about it and take each other's feelings into consideration as well, which is all quite new for me, because originally it was me doing my thing. Yep, I'm happy to do it. Let's do it. Whereas now I've got someone else to think about, and it's nice, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the opportunity arose, then we would discuss it, and what are the boundaries, and what's the expectations and things like that, So he's very open and understanding, and you have to be in this industry. So it's definitely something we would look at. But
Do you feel like girls in the industry, like as far as when it does come to dating, that they do date within the industry as opposed to like dating, I don't know, civilians, so to speak? Because I feel like it is someone who really
the muggles
understands.
of the world.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, do you find most girls sort of stick to guys within the industry when they're dating because the guys get the industry and the scene?
Yeah. I know people that are in relationships within and with outside of the industry, and both definitely work. I think if you're meeting someone that's outside of the industry, they have to be very open minded, very patient, very understanding. I dated previously before I met my partner, and it was all great and exciting and like this big novelty, and oh yeah, my girlfriend does OnlyFans and all this kind of stuff. But when it actually got to it, when it got to the nitty gritty, it was more than they were comfortable with, or they couldn't get their head around it, or you've slept with this guy multiple times. Like, have you guys got a thing going on? No, he's like my work husband. That's just what we
Yeah,
do. So it's quite difficult sometimes for people who aren't in the industry to get their heads around what we do, and that sex for work and sex for pleasure are very different.
yeah,
I know for work, most of the time my head is, okay, where's my arm? Where's my leg? Am I blocking the camera? Am I, does my hair look okay? Have I smudged my lipstick? All those kind of things are running through
yeah,
your head constantly. You're not thinking about what else is going on, because that
yeah.
kind of takes care of itself. Okay, we're moving positions. Okay, do I need to do this? Oh, I need to make sure I'm not blocking the camera again with my leg because we've just moved into a different position. So it's like you don't think about that. You can't really get into the moment when you work sexy. Whereas
Where like
personal
in the
sex,
personal life, you're more in the moment and you're just like letting
yeah,
it sort of happen, right?
yeah, and you're enjoying it, and you're like, oh, that feels really good, and I really like this person, or I don't, those thoughts don't run through my mind during work sex.
Mm. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
easy for you to sort of differentiate the two and disconnect that.
yes, yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah, and you have to. I think you have to be quite careful as well not to disconnect from your body completely.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like I did to a degree before I had a bit of a break. Felt like I wasn't really able to connect within myself and really enjoy sex, because I was always thinking about other things, and I always let my mind wander to other things when I'm filming. So it was kind of hard to bring myself back into that and be in a relationship and feel like, hey, I can just enjoy this. There's no cameras on.
Yeah, for real. Like
Yeah.
it's is that what it was for you? Like to have you cause a break because you just felt like it was it pressure that was getting to you? Like it was just your own head getting to you?
There was a number of things. Last year was a really tough year for me. I had two pretty intense stalkers, and they really got into my head. They were coming to my house. They were calling my parents. They were creating Instagram profiles with my real name, my home address, my phone number, everything like that. So it got really intense. Then went through a bit of a period of like cancel culture and experiencing that. So that was really hard to get my head around as well. And then I met my partner. So then it was a little bit like, okay, I can take a bit of time, reset my head. Where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? Is this what I see myself doing long term?
And these stalkers, like, were these like originally like subscribers to your OnlyFans that just sort of got a bit carried away? Like, where did this start? And
Yeah, one was a subscriber. One was actually a photographer who had taken my personal information from a model release form. So that I kind of lost a lot of trust and a lot of faith in people because of that. And he was, at my house. Why calling me? Why is so and so in your driveway? Why is such and such a car sitting in your driveway? Do your parents know what you're doing? Then he actually got hold of my dad's phone number and was calling him and saying, your daughter's a whore, your daughter is this, your daughter is that. Are you aware that she's all over the internet? Dad, being a very strong Scottish man, was just like, yeah, and she's fucking killing it, mate.
oh,
So Dad was very like, you should be the one that's ashamed. Like, because he's saying, you should be ashamed of yourself as a father and you should be ashamed of your daughter.
yeah, for real.
But my dad's his response was, you're the one that should be ashamed taking the time to call someone's parents and tell them, something that I already know.
Like,
Don't you have
did you turn this guy down because he kind of sounds like he's just someone who got burnt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. Then ended up in a relationship with a friend of his, and it was all very nasty. But it was just, I didn't feel safe. I was getting emails from a different email address every day. I think I counted something like, because I ended up going to the police about it, and I think we ended up reporting 10 different phone numbers.
Whoa.
Yeah, this guy was married with children. Like, it was
That's
just,
crazy.
I know, like, just ridiculous. And there's always going to be a level of that, but they both took it to the extreme at the same time. So,
Yeah, for real.
like, it was a lot to deal with, and restraining orders and court appearances and things like that. And I really did question, what am I doing? Am I in the right space? Like, no amount of money is worth this kind of harassment, So, yeah, it was definitely a period of trying to find myself again and find what I loved about the industry again, because
Yeah.
I feel like I copped a lot of the negatives back to back.
What was the cancel culture thing that you experienced? Because like I kind of feel like in this sort of society that we live in right now, that everyone walks around with like should be walked around wrapped in cotton wool. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've had people try and like not cancel. So I've had a couple people try and cancel me over the years of doing this podcast. But like,
Yeah.
what was it about you? Because like that they got you on that cancel culture like radar.
Yeah. So one of the guys that I worked with was accused of a whole load of things. And I supported him. And so because I supported him, because I gave my opinion on my experience working with him, I was seen to be a supporter of rape. I was a supporter of misogyny. I was a supporter of pedophilia.
Damn, so this guy
So
got accused of a lot of heavy shit.
yeah, and you know, no one has been to the police about any of it. So you're telling me that, you know, he's done all these things, but no one has actually done anything about it, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, if those things are true, then that's horrific. And I don't approve of that. But I don't approve of trial by media either.
No, exactly. I think that, like, you know, we live in a country where people should be tried at the full extent of the law. If there is, you know, everything that points in the direction of that person being what people are accusing that person of, then that person should face full, you know, court, like should face the full accountable of our legal system, you know, and
Yeah.
it's
And I'm a
crazy.
massive true crime buff. Massive. So I'm all for trial by jury, trial by court. If you've done the wrong thing, then you deserve to be brought to justice for that.
Yeah.
But when no one can provide any sort of evidence for it, and when that person is having to go to court for defamation for what has been said about them, I don't know. All I sort of did was say this was my personal experience, and I got absolutely slammed for it, and I have no doubt that I will get slammed for it again by talking about it.
Sure.
But that's just how I feel, and I don't think that it was right to accuse me of being a supporter of rape and sexual assault and every other thing just for saying, hey, this was my experience with this person.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like when that mob mentality hits in, it doesn't matter if you're not part of the mob mentality, you're then part of the problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
So
that's the way society is, and that's the way
yeah.
that the world is that we live in. It's fucked up, but it's the way that the world has sort of gone towards.
Yeah. And I was, you know, I had my opinion, but I wasn't allowed my opinion. They had their opinion, and that was the right one in their minds. So I was to be cancelled. And it was horrific. Like, it was hashtag cancel culture. Like, they know what they're doing, and they're all about destroying people's lives
But is like
based on
cancel culture really a thing in the adult entertainment world? Like,
it's huge.
really?
It's bad. Yeah. Like, you have to be so careful with what you do. And you have to be so careful about what you say and what you put up on what platform. And do you have all your forms signed? And can you guarantee that that person's form of identification is genuine? Because if you're filming with an 18-year-old and they've got a fake ID, then you're fucked.
Damn. Does that shit happen often though? Like, is there like some sketchy shit happening out there?
It happens. It happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked. That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, it seems to be okay for some and not for others. Let's just put it that way.
Right. So nepotism plays a big part in the adult industry as well, by the sound of it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for what I'm saying here with you, but fuck it.
But what are you really saying? Like, this podcast is called True Story, so like you're coming out here and telling your truth on how you see like the industry that you're working in and excelling in. So, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you can give an opinion on what you think about the industry that you're involved in.
Yeah. And like, not everyone's going to agree with my opinion, and that's totally fine. I think I've got myself to a point now where I'm not afraid to say what I think, where I was before. I think there's a lot of things that go on within the industry that I'm not okay with and I don't agree with, but people can do what they want to do. They make their own choices and their own decisions, but I will choose to do the right thing and be involved with the right people. And I think that's really why a lot of creators, find their tribe. They find a circle that they're happy to film with, and these are the people that they know and trust. You know, I can rattle off probably 5, 10 names that I would shoot with tomorrow and be very comfortable doing so. But I would be very careful about who I'd open that circle to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like this sort of industry, and especially like when it comes down to the OnlyFans things, where it's like you know what I mean, like people's processes and stuff like that, because it's kind of like you are your own business though, so it's kind of like I don't know, like it's kind of a weird sort of situation to be in, where it's like, you know, from a safety aspect of things, do you feel like, you know, if you're going to go shoot with a new creator, is it like, you know, I mean, how do you basically select the people that you do shoot with? Obviously, you know, prior to being in a relationship.
For me, it was always referrals.
Mm.
So if somebody that I trusted had worked with and had a positive experience with another person, I was happy with that. Obviously, we get our sexual health checks done prior, consent forms are signed. A little side note, I feel like that's something that people, I see a lot of comments on like Instagram, things like that, about how like creators are the town bike, and they belong to the streets, and they're basically a walking STI and stuff like that. Honestly, creators are probably, in terms of their sexual health, probably cleaner, if that's the right word to use, than any girl that you might go and have a one night stand with. We
Yeah.
get checks so regularly prior to any shoot. So most people want checks done within at least 7 days prior to shooting. So there was 1 month where I had like 6 STD checks done.
Really?
Yeah. So like it's a constant thing. So when I was filming very regularly, it was once a month without fail.
Yeah.
If I then had to provide more up-to-date details, then it was within 7 days of the shoot. When was the
Yeah.
last time you had an STD check, Piers?
I've been married to the same woman for like over, like I've been with my wife for over 10 years. So like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm going to say I've never had one.
You've never had one.
Never had one.
Yeah.
Never had.
And
I've been, like I said, I've been
I
with the same woman for 10 years, over 10 years. So like,
yeah,
you
and
know,
that's really good. But there are so many guys in the same position as you that are just like, you know, I don't need one, or I'm a single guy, but I'm really careful. You know, like I wear condoms, or I always pull out at the last minute. That's my favorite one. You know, guys don't get checked as often as they should be getting checked. So, all your listeners, go and get checked.
there you go. Hey, all those single guys out there, go get yourself checked out. Hey, and also the single ladies as well. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to discriminate
Yeah.
against anyone. Go
No,
get
no
yourself.
discrimination. Yeah, and a lot of STDs you don't get symptoms. So, just side
That's
note.
wild. That's wild. Have you ever like refused to work with anybody in this industry? Like, have you ever just gone like,
Now you're crossing into Jerry Dangerous territory.
oh, really?
Um,
Okay.
yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have felt, you know, I've had a few people reach out that I'm like, I'm not comfortable shooting with you. People who have the way that they've spoken to me, or you know, I had someone make a post of me and they were talking about me quite a derogatory manner.
Yeah.
You know, my thing is all about having fun and girl next door and lovey-dovey. I don't want you to be posting about me about like, I'm gonna fuck her in the ass. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Like,
not that's not
protest shit. Like,
sexy.
yeah.
It's not sexy, it's not beautiful, it's not classy. Uh Guys that have said to me, you know, I'm ex-military, so I can be trusted. Things like that. And I'm just like, that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm sorry. Like, I think it's great that you're ex-military, but that does not give me a reason to just trust you off the bat, you know? So a lot of it comes down to my gut instinct.
Yeah.
And if I'm receiving voice messages or messages where I feel like you're being a bit of an ass, then I'm not going to go for it. I'm not
Yeah.
going to put myself into any positions that I'm not completely comfortable with, you know? So,
Do you feel like that's cost you work over the time though? Like doing that? Like,
no, no, not at all. At the end of the day, my safety and my how comfortable I feel in myself is more important than any amount of money that I could make. So
yeah.
if I'm not comfortable, if I've got a gut feeling, I'm going to go with that. If it turns out that that's just cost me some money, fuck it, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Have you seen I actually was reading recently about AI porn and how that's kind of like taking over at the moment. And it's kind of weird because like the whole AI thing I find kind of like creeps me out to so like a certain extent. But do you feel like in years to come that like AI is going to take over the porn industry?
I haven't really had a lot to do with AI porn. I feel like AI for everyone at the moment is like this big unknown. What's it going to do? What's it going to take over? So it's like, is it going to take over, I don't know, the grocery industry? Is it going to take over the podcasting industry? You know, I feel like everyone's in the same boat at the moment with that.
Yeah.
You know, I saw on the news last week AI is impacting actors and things in Hollywood at the moment. You know, I feel like everyone's in the same boat. Um, the one thing I did um, sort of read about with AI porn is crossing boundaries in terms of pedophilia.
Mm.
So they can AI reproduce childlike
Dude,
images,
that's
or
fucked.
they can use say my footage, but make me look more like a child.
Oh, what the fuck?
So that is kind of the only thing I've really read up about
Yeah.
AI porn at this point in time, and questioning, well, is that right? Like, are you catering to pedophiles?
Yeah.
And as I said, I'm a big true crime fanatic, and have a lot of interest in a whole bunch of different areas that a lot of people would probably think is a bit messed up. I also have a psychology background, so for me, it's like a psych thing. Um, but is providing that on an artificial level going to prevent them from acting out, or is it going to encourage? You know, so that was sort of what I was reading up about, and it's a very difficult conversation, and it's a very difficult thing to think about.
Yeah.
Um, but in realistically, it's something that can happen because, sorry, my dog's wandering around in the background. Because realistically, there's no law against that at this point in time. Them creating artificial porn of younger people.
Well, it's not
So
real. It's all, but like
correct.
even still, it's just so fucked up. Like it's just
It's
so fucked up.
it's horrible to think about, but it's a reality that that is such a huge thing in our world.
Yeah.
So is that going to be acceptable? Is it not going to be acceptable? Is AI going to create this whole new platform of porn where it's acceptable for people to watch that?
I don't know. I feel like
It's
it's
hard.
still in that early stages, like the whole AI concept in general. That I feel like over time, it's just going to be something that they're going to have to police harder and harder.
Yeah, and there's going to have to be boundaries placed on it and laws placed on it, but there is that argument of prevention versus action at the
Yeah.
moment with that kind of thing. You know, is providing them with that legally going to be an option to stop them from acting out, or is it then going to encourage them to act out?
Fuck.
So it's a difficult conversation, but yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, bit of
As
a
a parent,
downer,
hey,
but
as a parent of three kids, that shit scares the fuck out of me. It truly does.
mm,
Like it really, like the whole online thing. Like my kids now, my two older ones are now starting to get on iPads and like find TikTok and shit, and it scares the shit out of me. You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah,
nah, nah.
yeah. Well, we have a 9-year-old, and it's the same, like the stuff, TikTok especially is very, it's meant to be very G rated, very PG rated. Kids are meant to be able to access the platform. If you post anything on TikTok and you're in lingerie, they'll remove it.
Yeah.
I was at Sexpo in Melbourne recently, and I had a little pink crop top and a G-string on, and I was eating from Cheeky Waffles. They make amazing waffles. Go look them up. They're incredible. Amazing waffles, and they're in penis and vagina shapes.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and they do this really cool thing called a cum shot where they like squeeze condensed milk into your mouth at the end of it. It's really cool. But I put up a video of me like eating one of those and getting my little cum shot of condensed milk, which is just in like a little ketchup bottle, into my
Yeah.
mouth, and they barred it straight away.
Really?
Yeah, but you see a lot of creators on TikTok, and a lot of it is very subtle, but it's there. So if kids are smart and they're in tune and they know what's happening in the world, they can pick up on that really easily,
Yeah. Yeah. But
which is
I
a
feel,
worry.
I feel like TikTok has really given people like a false sense of celebrity in such a big way, because it's like you see someone who's got like 1 million subscribers on TikTok, and then you go to their Instagram and they've got like 50, or their
Yeah,
YouTube channel's got like 20. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it doesn't really cross over into the other mediums, I feel.
I feel like for creators, it's a bit of a pipeline. So, they start with TikTok, they get big views on TikTok, then channels down to their Instagram. Then from Instagram, you have a link in bio. Hint,
Yeah.
hint, link is in the bio, guys. You click on that, you can then access OnlyFans.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of how creators are using TikTok at the moment. They're sort of funneling the social media platforms through each other. You can post a website link like Linktree and things like that into a TikTok bio, but I think they're pretty on it when it comes to removing anything that has adult content in it.
Yeah.
Whereas Instagram, I know a lot of people have moved away from Linktree because Instagram was like flagging Linktree because it was used so much with the adult platform.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's other websites that are similar, that do a similar thing. You essentially click on the link, it lists all your links. So I'll have a link to podcast with you tonight. I'll have a link to my OnlyFans. I've got multiple OnlyFans pages, so there'll be a link to different ones, so then people can go through and click on what they want. And then it's got all my other social media platforms on there as well. So it's literally just like funneling people down, keep clicking
Yeah.
until you get to where you actually want to be, so.
100%. How do you like? Why the multiple OnlyFans accounts? Like, have you been
Oh,
blocked or something?
okay. No, so it's pretty much it's a bit of the different business models essentially.
Sure.
So my main, what I call my main page, which is the one that I've been on forever, is my lower subscription price.
Mhm.
And I post a whole load of stuff to my wall. You'll get like little video snippets of things, you'll get photos. But my longer videos, like my longer porn tapes and things like that, will be sent as a locked message, which you can then purchase. Whereas my other page, what I call my VIP page, is a higher subscription price, but everything is for free on the page.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So people have kind of different spending options.
Mm. Have you ever thought like, a lifespan into this industry? Like, have you, when you got into it, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this till like I get to this age, or after like this amount of years? Like, is there a lifespan on this for you?
I want to make old lady porn. I want to move into like grandma porn.
Yeah. Move into like
um,
Nina Hartley stage.
yeah. I don't really know. I kind of got to the point last year where I was like, I think this might be it for me. I think, I've done my 3 years and I feel like I'm maybe on the way out now. But then I met my partner, and he's very in the adult industry as well. and he does OnlyFans, but he also does like live art shows. And I'll be
Yeah.
sitting on the couch on a Saturday night, and he's off out to a hen's party to go get naked for them and stuff like that. So we've kind of motivated each other to a point. And I just kind of relaunched again. We went to Melbourne Sexpo a little while ago,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was great. It was really lovely, and I had a really good uptake on my OnlyFans again, and things like that. So I'm feeling like I'm back at it. I don't really know how long that's going to be. I've done some amazing photo shoots over the last few years, and I'd love to do a bit more of that. I was in Maxim in New Zealand in 2022, so pretty much a year after I started in the industry. So that was really exciting. And I've been in Bad Mag over in the US as well, which was really cool. I got the cover for that mag too. So, eventually I could maybe move more down that avenue, but things come up all the time. Opportunities are always coming up. So I feel like I'm really excited to just take people up on opportunities and just see where it takes me.
Yeah. Do you feel like the adult entertainment industry in Australia is like can only reach a certain ceiling, like certain point? Like, how big of an industry is it here in Australia?
I feel like OnlyFans is, you can do it from anywhere in the world, So you can. It really depends on what your business model looks like. So if you're filming solo, then it's not really something you need to worry about.
Sure.
And there are girls, men filming solo and doing very well. If you want to be filming with other people, then potentially you're going to have to look at going to the US. But again, there's a lot of OnlyFans creators there. So it doesn't mean moving into mainstream porn. It just means essentially meeting up with other OnlyFans creators. So I feel like OnlyFans has really opened the world up to a lot of people, and you're not just looking at like porn companies anymore where you get told what you have to do and that's how it's going to be. You can do your own thing. You can pick who you want to work with, all that kind of thing. So there are a lot of girls that have gone over to America that I know, but they go over for 2 weeks, shoot a load of content, and that might do them for the next 6 months.
Crazy.
So yeah.
It's interesting because it's like, you wonder like how much of this series, because I can expect like most guys that you would probably come in contact with that would be outside of the industry to be like, yeah, I'd jump in there and film like that, like that's no problem. But like for the most part, like it would be an intimidating factor for like a regular guy off the street to go and do that shit.
Yeah, look, I get volunteers quite regularly through Instagram and stuff, and from OnlyFans. Side note to anyone listening, you can't actually suggest to meet up with a creator on OnlyFans. You will be barred or blocked, so don't do it.
Even if
OnlyFans
they
are
just
really,
say, hey, like, can we do like meet up and blah 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 blah.
no, OnlyFans will bar you.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like if you're planning a meetup on OnlyFans, you can get in a lot of trouble for it.
Because then it comes into prostitution.
Correct.
Yeah,
And it's
right.
a British run platform, I believe. So you're actually operating under their laws. So
Yeah.
so it then falls into prostitution. So I used to be an escort, and I had my link tree on my OnlyFans, which had my escorting profile on there, and they actually removed it and gave me a formal warning.
No shit.
Yeah, so you got to be really careful about suggesting to meet up, or can I see you, or like let's plan this or whatever. Like I can mention that I'm going to be appearing at Sexpo. That's fine. That's not like a meet and greet. That's I'm going to be at this I'm going to be at this exhibition essentially. But if I say to you, hey Piers, come meet me at so and so at this time, and let's do this and let's do that, you'll get in trouble for that.
Yeah, that's wild. So
Yeah.
how long were you doing escorting for?
I was doing that for about a year and a half.
Yeah. Was that while you were doing the OnlyFans stuff, or was that before?
I
Or
I feel like that's a whole other podcast.
really, really?
um, yeah, so that was during.
Yeah.
That was same sort of time. I've been doing OnlyFans for about 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
I probably got into that maybe a year and a half down the track.
Yeah.
And it sort of felt like a bit of a natural progression. I think a lot of creators feel like that. And there are a lot of creators that do that as well.
Sure.
It's legal in Australia, so there's no problem with that. A lot of creators will work under a different name.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was interesting. That was an
Yeah,
interesting time.
I can imagine. Like for you, was safety ever an issue in doing that sort of work? Because I can imagine like you'd be dealing with some pretty sketchy people at the best of times, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, and this probably doesn't sound like the smartest move, but I actually moved from escorting into brothel work for the safety and the security.
Yeah, right.
So I've been in that industry as well. I feel like I've kind of seen a lot of the sex industry in a very short period of time, but
Yeah,
I I was concerned for my safety when I had stalking issues going on. They knew where I lived. They were following me. So um, I found it safer to operate in that manner at the time.
of course.
Not really what I wanted to be doing, but I was working from an amazing boss and working from an amazing business, and I loved being there. I felt like I was part of a family, and um, so I actually really enjoyed my time there. But it kind of naturally came to an end when I met my partner, and it wasn't where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, this maybe we should do an escorting and brothel podcast as well because
Hey,
this
I'm,
is
I'm down for it. This conversation's actually been pretty wild. Like I've got to admit, like I've learned a lot here tonight, like from what we've been talking about, and you know, and to be honest as well, like I feel like a lot of adult creators probably get, you know, the raw end of the stick, and you see a lot of, like, I think the wilder sort of American podcasts and on how they sort of view OnlyFans models and stuff like that. It's
Mm.
crazy because I feel like, and like, do you feel like you get judged just because of the line of work that you do? Like, do you like
Oh,
how?
definitely, definitely. So for an example, friend of mine, Billy Beaver, has literally just done an article on Lad Bible on Instagram. And she's essentially said, like, everyone keeps telling me that what I do is not a job. It's not a real job. So why am I paying more tax than most people? And Lad Bible has published the article. The comments, I literally sat for about 40 minutes reading all of the comments yesterday and was gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. I was appalled because people are just so narrow minded and they're like, well, it's a job. You should pay your tax. That's not what she's saying. You're the ones that keep saying to me that what I'm doing is not a real job.
Yeah,
But I pay my taxes. We pay tax. We pay GST. You know, we're paying a commission for OnlyFans. So we pay 20% of everything that we earn. So, like you keep saying, get a real job. And everyone, actually, so many of the comments were about her intelligence.
mm.
Oh, well, she's a dumb bitch. So that's why she does OnlyFans. Mate, I've probably got more letters after my name than most people. I've been to
Mm.
uni, I've done a lot of courses, I've, studied what I'm considered stupid because I'm doing OnlyFans.
I think a certain amount of people would probably look at it from and how they perceive it you're never going to change those people's mind because they see it as a certain way. They see it as, you know what I mean, something as dirty and as wild. Like, you know what I mean, we talk about like the sex industry. You look like a country at a country like Thailand, where like it's probably like the sex capital of the world. But those girls that are over there doing that work, it's not like they're doing it because they're promiscuous or any kind of way. It's because that's how
Yeah.
they make the most amount of money to bring home to their family. And it comes down to the
Yeah.
same with the lady boys. It's like, it's not about being, you know, gay or trans or anything like that. It's like, there's only a family of boys. You got to go and make the most money for this family.
Yeah. And I mean, again, true crime, obsessed. I listened to a podcast today and it was about mail order brides from Kazakhstan and going over to America, and that people were judging her. She ended up being murdered by her new husband.
Jesus.
And people were like, oh, well, she was asking for it. I was like, I'm sorry, what? She's trying to escape, you know, to get herself
Poverty.
a better life. She wanted to go and study at university. She wanted to learn. She wanted to experience a better life. But she was asking for it because she signed up to a mail order bride platform. You know,
But
at the
even
end of the day,
a lot of those girls as well, sometimes they don't even have the choice.
hmm,
You know what I mean? They're just sold off into that shit.
yeah, and her family actually were very supportive, and they were, you know, we want what's best for you. We want the best life for you. And so she went over and she was working and studying and doing really well, and he didn't like that she was so independent. So, I mean, I did a lot of webcamming during COVID as well.
Yeah.
And sorry, side note, my talking about whether my dad is encouraging and supportive and things like that. He used to actually drop me off food packages at my front door because he knew I was webcamming all day. So he used
That's
to like
awesome.
cook. He would like cook me up food and like put snacks and things like that and leave it at my front door. So because he knew that I would be busy all day.
That is wild.
He
That's
doesn't want to know the
unbelievable.
details, but he
For
wants to make
sure.
sure that, yeah, and like that's a very Scottish thing. We feed each other, you know. If you're not happy, let's feed you. If is there something wrong, let's have a cup of tea and a biscuit. Like we'll feed you, which I know is similar to a lot of like, you know, Middle Eastern
Yeah, ethnic type
cultures
families.
and things
Yeah,
like that. Like something's wrong, let's feed you. Let's make sure that you're okay. So
cure
he
by
would just
food.
drop off food, yeah, drop me off food packages and things like that. But there was a lot of girls when I first started webcamming. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I don't know. It was COVID. I just started in the industry. Webcamming seemed like an option, and I did very well on it. But I would go into other girls' um, forums, I suppose you would call them, and just sort of see what other people were doing. And, you know, it was very obvious that, you know, there were Eastern European girls who were just in a room for hours on end. There were girls that clearly were just stuck there, and they take their passports and
That's
um, yeah, so I've got family in the Netherlands, and Amsterdam has always been, you know, like sex capital, and
yeah,
you know,
for real.
you've got the red light district, and it's incredible. It's amazing that sex is such an open thing, but they've always had a real issue with, you know, pimps coming in and bringing girls in from Eastern Europe and taking their passports and send like threatening to send photos of them to their families and things like that. So there is that element of forced work in the industry as well, which is a shame. But
That's crazy. That's crazy that like still that happens in this day and age. That there's still people being forced into this sort of shit.
yeah, and they feel like they can't get out of it. They're either pumped full of drugs or um, they've taken their passports and they've threatened to send horrible photos to their families. And for a lot of them and a lot of cultures, the shame of that is
Yeah, for
unbearable.
real.
They can't bring themselves to be part of that, you know? So
Damn, man. That's
Anyway, sorry, we've gone down a little bit.
absolutely not. This
I like
conversation.
I like
I was
to
going to
bring
say
some
this.
awareness to these things, you know.
I think this conversation's been pretty good. Like, I feel like we've definitely covered like so many different areas. And I've honestly really enjoyed this conversation so far. I think it's been great. It's been eye opening for me in a lot of ways to learn about this and hear about these sort of things. Because like I feel like for the most part, people like me, like I don't know, guess a square in the world or whatever, like we probably don't think about half this shit. And like, you know what I mean? And even certain like things of what people are doing for a living. And I think a lot of people have these preconceived ideas about the adult industry and, you know, the type of people in. And even you were saying earlier about like people putting comments and stuff in there. And, but you know what, like it comes down to is like people aren't going to be like throwing hate on you if they're doing better than you in life. You know what I mean? People are like are throwing those hateful shit out and the people are putting those comments in. They're not doing better than you. They're not earning the money that you're earning. They're just haters. And that's what it is. Like that they get off on hating on people.
Yeah. Talk about an ego boost.
But it's true though. It's true though. Like you don't see an
Yeah.
NRL player going and shitting on a fucking 15-year-old kid who's trying to play football at a park. You don't see an NBA star who's shitting on a friggin' guy who's trying to shoot hoops in the oval. Usain Bolt isn't making fun of the guy who's trying to run around the oval a couple of times to lose some weight. You know what I mean? Like when you're at a high level, you know what I mean? Like you don't need to punch down.
I think it's important though. It's so important to like stay humble with it too. You know, like people get it at all levels. Like, are you telling me that you've never received hate for what you do with wrestling? Or, you know, good friend of mine, Vinny Vane, like you're telling me that he's never ever, I had to drop his name in there because, you know, he's my favorite. He's my favorite. Guys, Vinny Vane, my love. Are you telling me that he's never received hate for who he is portrayed as or who you're portrayed as?
Sure.
You know, the person that we are portrayed as or the character that we play in the grand scheme of, you know, the movie that we are part of, essentially, everyone's getting it. It doesn't matter what you do. I go on TikTok live. You probably can see I got a bit of a big nose here. Go on TikTok live. Last time I went on TikTok live, I had someone tell me to get a nose job.
Really?
So you're always going to get it.
But it's social media toxicity though. Like it's kind of like the comment section on Twitter, right? Like there's no good is going to come from that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're never going to please everyone. You're always going to be ugly to somebody. But on the other hand, you're always going to be beautiful to someone too. You're always going to be entertaining to someone too. Someone's going to watch video and be like, fuck, he's fucking great. I love that guy. But then the next guy's going to be like, fuck, that guy's an asshole, you know?
Hey, it comes down to different flavors for different people. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. You can't please everyone. And that's what I've sort of learned over the last year is you can't please everyone. There's always going to be people that hate you for what you do. I choose to do what I do. I enjoy doing what I do. I have a lot of fun. I meet some amazing people. I, again, was at Melbourne Sexpo. I spent most of that weekend naked on stage in front of like 2,000 people. Guys, get yourself to Sexpo. You know, like there are always going to be people, but at the end of the day, if you're doing well and you're succeeding, then there are more people that love you than hate you, and I can deal with that.
100%. And I think that's a perfect way to end the podcast tonight, honestly. But like, where can before we wrap it up, where can everyone find you on social media and give you a follow and check out what you're doing?
Yes, please send me a follow. That would be lovely. Reach out, have a chat. So I am Sammy Lea, Lea Davidson on Instagram. All my links to my naughty pages can be found in the link in bio. And I'm Sammy Lea Davidson on TikTok as well. So check me out.
Guys, make sure you go check out Sammy Lea Davidson. This has been the greatest podcast in the world. True story. Till next time, take care. All the best. We'll see you soon. Peace.
Break it down like this.
Get a grip, you fucking moron. I podcast.